earlier. I'll tell you what, I appreciate everyone coming out this evening. It's very uplifting and very encouraging to see all the faces that come out. I feel very supported, and I really appreciate that. I'll share something that happened today. Me and Caleb, we went and visited Brother Raymond and Sister Esther. And whenever we went in the house, Brother Raymond greeted us at the door, and he was very happy and seemed very cheerful. And whenever we walked in, Sister Esther was sitting in her recliner, hooked up with her oxygen and stuff. And, you know, she looked like she was not feeling too well. She actually was kind of sick while we were there. But whenever we walked in, she smiled at us, and the first thing she told us was, "If you want to learn how to kiss, look over there." I looked over there, and over there was a picture. And it was her and Brother Raymond on their 70th anniversary. 70th anniversary. Smooching. I tell you what, if nobody else gets anything from me coming to Missouri, I got something just from that right there. That was amazing. That was amazing. I want to do a little character study, and it's also kind of a chapter study. And I want to talk about the Brash, the Beautiful, and the Bullheaded. There's 3 different characters in this study. If y'all want to follow along with me, we're going to 1 Samuel 25, and it's going to be the story of David, Abigail, and Nabal. And these are 3 very, very different characters. You know what I love about the Bible? I love about the Bible is that if you like an action story, you got one. If you like a love story, you got one. If you like whatever kind of story you like, whatever your thing is, you can find it right here in the Bible. And the cool thing about this is they're true stories, and they're there for us to learn from, and they're there for us to get the examples from. And that's what we're going to try to do tonight. We're going to try to study these characters and pick out their good points and point out their bad points, and we're going to try to learn from these guys. Chapter 25 of 1 Samuel says, "And Samuel died." Let me give a little rundown of the situation that David's in. David, the man who killed Goliath, the one who's anointed. I didn't do nothing this time. She did that all on her own. David, the one who killed Goliath, he was already anointed king, or he was already anointed to be king. He's fled into the wilderness because the king right now, Saul, is chasing after him. And Samuel, the prophet of God who anointed him, has just died. So David and some men that gathered up with him, they had went and kind of ran into the wilderness to get away from Saul. And we're taking this story right here, and from the very beginning. And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in the house of Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 2,000 goats, and he was shearing sheep in Carmel. Just to set the stage about this, the shearing sheep in Carmel, that's like a day of harvest. That's like a day when the guy who has everything, he's shearing his sheep, he's collected all his goods. This guy's just going to throw a party, you'll see here in a minute. So this is not a time of mourning. This is not a time of sadness. This is not a time of poverty for this man. The time that this man we're talking about is a good time. He's got it. He is wealthy. It was a time of celebration. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. That good understanding means that she was smart. This lady had a head on her shoulders. That good countenance means that she was pretty hot. She was a very beautiful woman. But the man she was married to, verse 3, but the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. That word churlish means hard-headed. He was hard. He was arrogant. He was stubborn. This beautiful woman had married an ugly, stubborn man. Sometimes I wonder how in the world do such beautiful women end up with such stubborn men? And then I remember how thankful I am, because I'd probably be still single if that wasn't the case. But that's exactly what happened. And I heard one guy say that, what I really think happened here, what I honestly think, I think this was a time when you actually were betrothed to someone or something to that nature. So I'm not sure this was a marriage that they just chose to have. But that's kind of beside the point. Well, David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. David heard that Nabal was collecting his goods, that it was a time of celebration. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thou shalt you say to him that liveth in prosperity, again, a good time. Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not. Neither was there aught missing unto them all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thy hand, unto thy servants, and to thy son David. Now we're going to see here in just a minute that David sent those men down there, and he just gave an overview. He didn't really tell exactly the depths that what he had done for Nabal. And we'll see what he had done in a minute. He just said, go tell Nabal that we didn't steal anything from you and that we kind of oversaw everything. But it was much more than that. David didn't go up there boasting. David didn't go out there saying, hey, you owe me this. David didn't go up there and say none of that. He just said, whatever you find favorable to give us, please give us. You know what that stubborn guy Nabal said? The young men went and told him that. And when David's young men, verse 9 of chapter 25, if you want to follow along. And when David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. He went and told him exactly what David told him to tell him. And then they stopped. And this hard-headed Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David, and who is this son of Jesse? At this time, everybody knows who David is. Everybody knows who the son of Jesse is. There were songs out there talking about the king. It says Saul killed thousands, David killed his 10,000s. Everybody knew that David was going to be the next king. He knew that he was off in the field. He knew that he was kind of hiding out. This guy knew who David was, but he didn't acknowledge him. He disrespected him, really. He said, who is this guy? Who is this David that wants something from me? And then he says, there be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed from my shearers and give it unto men who I know not where they come from? You talk about a slap in the face. I mean, that is just as blatantly disrespectful as you could get. Who is David? Who is this vagabond? Who is this wanderer? Am I supposed to give to every bum that comes my way? Am I supposed to be generous to everybody that shows up at my doorstep? Verse 12. So David's young men, they turned around. They went back to David. It says, so David's young men turned their way and went again and came and told him all those things. You think this dude didn't get upset? You think David, somebody's already out there trying to kill him, he's already running, probably scared, or not necessarily scared, but on the run, away from his house, hiding in caves, all of this stuff, and then this comes right on top of his head. He got very upset. David got very upset. Verse 13 said, David got so upset that David said to these men, gird ye on every man his sword. That means get your swords, boys. And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men and 200 abode by the stuff. So David and 400 of his men, and if you read through the scriptures, you know these 400 men are not just regular Joe Blows. These 400 men are men of war. These 400 men are men of battle. So these guys get up, and David is ticked. He said he wants to know who David is. I'll go introduce myself. And that's exactly what he headed to do. I want to pull out a little point here, and I want to ask you a question. Was David really owed anything? I work in a business, and I estimate for a brick company, and a contract means everything. I mean, you don't do anything without having a contract. And I understand back in the day, I was actually trying to look like in the old law to see if there was something, like if you went out of your way to do something special for somebody, were they obligated to pay you? Or were they obligated to do something for you? And I couldn't find that. Would it have been right for Nabal to give to David? Absolutely it would have been right. But was he really owed anything? When you go out of your way to do something special for somebody and they don't really ask you to, do they owe you anything for it? I don't think they do. I think when we decide to do something special or to go out of our way, the best thing to keep us from getting our feelings hurt or to keep us from feeling entitled or owed something, don't expect a single thing out of it. Do it strictly out of the goodness of your heart. And then this wouldn't happen. I don't necessarily believe David was owed anything. I do think it would have been the right thing to do to help him out. And we'll see why. It's more than what he said over here. But one of the young men, verse 14, one of the young men knew what was going on. One of the young men knew that David and his men was headed to Nabal's house to knock on the front door. And they wasn't trick-or-treating. They was going there, and they meant business. But one of the young men came and told Abigail, Nabal's wife. Why do you think that man went to Abigail instead of Nabal? I mean, obviously it's obvious. Obviously it's obvious. He was so stubborn. He was so stubborn. That young man knew that if he went to this bullheaded man, nothing would have happened. Nabal probably would have got upset. He went to Abigail to tell her the seriousness of the matter. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on him. He talked bad about him. He put him down. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt. Neither missed we anything as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall about us. Wrap your head around this. They were a wall unto us both day, night, and day. And while we were with them keeping the sheep. When David went and told them, when David told those young men to just go kind of lightly tell Nabal what's been going on, he left it out. This scripture right here tells the extent of exactly what he did. He said that his men was a wall about them, both day and night. These men stood there and protected them. If they were enemies coming to steal the flock, they protected them. If it was some animals or something, they would protect them. You know what? It feels pretty good to know somebody has your back. And not just anybody. These men, like I said a while ago, were mighty men. They weren't just some little scrubs that nobody would be scared of. I saw a video, and it started out like this. It was a mother talking, and the first thing she said was, I didn't realize what I was bringing into my house. And she goes on, and the story begins. She had a young daughter, and she had married a man. Her young daughter was about 10 years old. And this man that she married was not a good man. This man that she had married did really bad things to this little 10-year-old girl. The 10-year-old girl finally went and told the mom, but it was too late. The damage had been done. The mom pressed charges on the man. The man went to prison, or the man went to jail and awaited trial. The little girl couldn't sleep. The little girl wouldn't take a shower with her clothes off. The little girl, before she would even lay down when it went nighttime, she would go around and she would lock all the windows. She was scared, she was broken, and she was just a wreck. And then it goes on to say, the mother says, until they showed up. Until they showed up. I don't know if you've ever heard of BACA, and I didn't know a whole lot about them. But BACA actually stands for Bikers Against Child Abuse. And I thought these guys just did like toy raisers or toy rides or whatever, you know, go drop stuff off or whatever. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. He said, until they showed up. Do you know what showed up? 20 to 30 motorcycles showed up at their house. 20 or 30 big biker dudes and big biker women showed up at their house on motorcycles. He said you could hear it like a train. That little girl said she remembered looking out that window and seeing all those bikers out there, and at first she was scared because these guys were not like our Christian bikers that we roll with, like Larry Phillips and everybody like that. I mean, these guys were tough. These guys were tough. You know what these guys did? For 2 weeks straight, they encircled that little girl's house, and they slept on every corner of this little girl's yard. You know why? Because this is what they said. We want them to know, we want those little kids to know that we're badder than those, we're bigger than whoever was after them. We're badder than whoever's after them. And that's what they did. They encircled this little girl's house, both night and day. The head guy, I can't remember his name, probably T-Bone or something like that. The head guy, he said about 2 weeks into it, this little girl who he had not seen very often, says in the middle of the night, the front door opened up, and he was basically camped out right in front of the house with others as well. And this little girl walked up and snuggled up next to him and just stayed there. He said he just pulled out his sleeping bag, whatever, laid it on the ground and just... That's not all they did either. That's not all they did. That would have been enough, you know? That's not all they did. You know when the court date came? That little girl walked into that courtroom, and that dude that had done those bad things to her, he walked out, and he was staring at her. But you know what else he was staring at? 30 or 40 bikers standing right behind her. Let me tell you something. It sure feels good when you know somebody's got your back. And that's exactly what David and his men did for these shepherds. It's exactly what David and his men did for Nabal's property, for Nabal's employees, for Nabal's property. And David was tipped because he put in all that time and all that effort. Now therefore, verse 17, now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master. He tells Abigail, he says, this young man tells Abigail, think about what you're going to do because bad things are about to happen. Bad things are on their way right now. And against all his household, but he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. Our master is so hard-headed that he will not listen. Then the next verse says, then Abigail made haste. You know what I like about Abigail? We'll see later at the end of this, towards the end of the story. This lady knew when to speak. This lady knew how to speak. This lady knew when it was important to jump. This lady knew when it was important to sit back and keep her mouth shut, not throw flames on a fire. It's so easy to throw flames on a fire. You know somebody's got a little problem in their side, you just go poking it and poking it and poking it. It's easy to do that. Anybody can start a fight. Anybody can start an argument. But Abigail, she saw when it was important. This beautiful lady, she saw when it was important to act or react. And she made haste. And she took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine and 5 sheep, ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn and 100 clusters of raisins and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on donkeys. And she said unto her servants, go on before me, but behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. This lady went to the pantry and she just cleaned up, man. And I don't even think she probably put a dent in what was already there. But she went in there and she started loading up her donkeys and started getting it all together. She's going to take this food out to David. And she didn't tell her bullheaded husband. Verse 20. And as it was so, as she rode on the donkey, and she came down by the covert on the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David has said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow has in the wilderness. Now I don't know how close she is to be able to hear what they're saying, but she heard him say that. And I want to ask you a question. David says, surely in vain have I done all of this stuff. Surely in vain have I kept all of this stuff that this man has. Do you truly think it was in vain? Sometimes we go out of our way and we try to do things for people and we try to stick our necks out there, and man, we must really bust our chops to try to do something good or whatever the case may be, and it might backfire on us, and we might get slapped and we might get back talked and we might get slandered and everything else. But was it in vain? It wasn't in vain. You think all those nights that those men camped around those herdsmen and camped around all that he had, you don't think those men that were standing there, regardless of what Nabal thought, you don't think all those men standing there saw that? You don't think they respected David for what he did, regardless if Nabal did or didn't? You don't think it made an impact on somebody's life that David and his men would do that? It wasn't in vain. Those long nights, those heartaches, those headaches, those whatever the situation is, trying to reach out, trying to do, it's not in vain. If you think nobody else notices, there's people that notice. God notices for sure. David was brash. He got very upset. Now David had said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. It happens. That's the real world. Sometimes you do good, people do evil to you. I mean, that's just the way it works. But it's not for vain. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David, verse 22, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that pees against the wall. And what that means is he's going in there and he's going to kill every man there. And I don't know at what age or anything, but all I can tell, I Googled it, and all I could come up with was he was going to go in there and kill all the men in that city or in that town or in his house. There wasn't going to be another boy to pass on another Nabal gene. He meant business. And when Abigail saw David, she hastened, and she lit off her donkey and fell before David on her face. Can you imagine this beautiful woman coming up to this man of war, this man who is just furious, just infuriated. He wants blood and he's going to go get it. He's looking, he's got fight in his eyes, and all of a sudden here comes this beautiful woman jumping off a donkey and falling down before his face. Verse 24, and fell at his feet and said, Upon me, my Lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let thy handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear words of thine handmaid. Let me ask you a question. What did she do to deserve any iniquity falling on her? She didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to deserve that. This lady was so humble. This lady was full of humility. This lady was full of tact. This lady was full of brains. This lady went and she fell down in front of his feet. Verse 25 says, Let not my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord, whom thou didst send. She said, this would have never happened if I would have saw him first. This would have never happened. You know what I love about Abigail? Abigail is a peacemaker. Abigail is a peacemaker. She knows the right things to say. I've already said that. She knows the right things to do. Let me tell you something. We need more of these. We need more of these in our lives. We need more of these in our congregations. We need more of these. We need more people that know when it's time to jump in there and get ready to fight. And we need more people that know when it's time to make peace. And Abigail knew how to do that. Verse 26 says, Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withheld thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies and they that seek evil, my Lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thy handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto thee, talking about all that food she had gathered, said, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord. Verse 28. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid. You know what I've come to find out in life? An apology can fix just about any situation. A sincere apology, or as Abigail did here, go to David and talk it out. If somebody's upset with you, or if you're upset with somebody, hey, don't be afraid to come and talk to them if you have a problem with them. Be a man about it. Just come and talk to them. Or be a woman about it, as Abigail did. And have a sincere apology. Not like I get. Like, most of the time I start the fights at my house. That's just the way it is. It's fun. And so I'll tell her, you know, whenever I go to apologize or whatever, I'll be like, all right, sorry, babe, okay, sorry, whatever. So then she'll take my pillow and she'll throw it on the couch and she'll say, sorry, babe, you know, okay, sorry about that. A sincere apology, meeting up with people, working things out. Peacemakers. I pray thee, verse 28, I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thy handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house. Because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man has risen to pursue thee and to seek thy soul. Talking about Saul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life, with the Lord thy God, and the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee rule over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thy handmaid. You know what Abigail did? Abigail reminded David who he was. Abigail went and he told David, she said, David, you're already chosen to be king. Don't let this right here, don't let your anger or your vengefulness or your innocent bloodshedding, he said, don't let this be something against you. You're better than that. You don't need to go out there fighting this war. This is a non-issue. Sometimes we need to be reminded who we are. Sometimes we need to be reminded that we are the children of God. And that we don't need to be fighting useless fights. And that we don't need to be butting heads. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. Let me tell you this next verse right here, or this next line right here. If you're anything like me, it is one of the hardest things to ever do. Or say. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. Not that part, this part right here. And blessed be thy advice. Sometimes it is so hard to take advice, especially if you are a stubborn, bullheaded man. It's my way or the highway. This lady, this peacemaker, changed the heart of this man. This man that was out for blood. She came to him, I don't like repeating myself, but she came to him in a meek spirit, in a humble manner. She talked to him. She was a peacemaker. She reminded him who he was and that he shouldn't be doing the things that he was about to do. And David saw that, and he said, And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with my own hand. For in very deed, as the Lord God of Israel lives, which has kept me back from hurting you, except thou hast hasted and come to meet me. If you wouldn't have came and stopped me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any man. If you wouldn't have came and done what you did, Abigail, if you wouldn't have came and met me face to face like this, by the morning light there would not have been a single man left in that town or house. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy persons. You remember whenever I told you a while ago that Abigail knew when to make haste, when to fight, and when not to fight? Here's when she knew not to fight. Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, Abigail had just came from saving Nabal's life. And she comes in there, and guess what? Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunk. Abigail came home, and this man was slopping drunk. It could have been very easy for Abigail to go in there and just tell her exactly what just went down. But you know what happens typically when you go tell a drunk man? I know I used to be a drunk man, that somebody wanted to fight him. Hold my beer, boys. Let's go. Abigail knew that going and running her head or telling what happened in that situation wouldn't do anything but provoke more problems. So she waited. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became a stone. The next morning when this dude was sober, and he actually had some clarity and some sense, Abigail went and told him, Hey, this is what happened last night. His heart died within him. He realized the severity of it. He realized exactly how severe of a situation it was, and he died inside. I don't know if he's had a heart attack or exactly what happened, but it said his heart came as stone. I don't know if he got so scared. You know when you get so scared you can't move and you just freeze up? I don't know exactly how that went down. But it came to pass about 10 days after the Lord smote Nabal that he died. So David didn't even have to go do anything. You know that verse that says, vengeance is mine, so saith the Lord? Vengeance is his. So saith the Lord. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil, for the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David would come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee to take thee to him to wife. It sounds like a fairly happy ending. So, about 2 verses down, David gets another wife, so I'm not sure how that worked out. There's 3 types of people in this story. There's 3 types of people in this story. You have this lady, Abigail. She started out a sweetheart. She started out a smart lady. She started out keeping her cool. As things started going, the roller coaster kept going, guess what? She continued being a sweetheart. She continued being a smart lady. She continued to keep her cool. Then you got David, who was kind of a hothead. He rushed into it, was about to make a big mistake. Somebody came to him, kind of explained to him, and this man who was after God's own heart, the Bible said that. He listened to reason, he took advice, and he changed his ways. And then you have Nabal, who started out a stubborn man. Throughout the whole story, he stayed a stubborn, bullheaded man. And then in the end, he died a stubborn, bullheaded, unchanging man. I ask myself and I ask all y'all, how do you want to go out? I'd like to be this, but I'd like to be beautiful. I'd like to be Abigail, but I believe I'm more like David, or I pray to be like David, and I do not want to be like Nabal. One had a changeable spirit. One had a beautiful spirit. And one was a fool. That's my thoughts for this evening. Again, I appreciate everyone for coming out. At this time, we're going to have an invitation song. An invitation song is there for anyone who would like to become a Christian, who would like to be baptized into the body of Christ, who would like to have a new life and a new hope, and to have, just like you can erase this board with a wipe, all of your sins you've ever committed, you can have it erased just like a clean slate. Just like that. Or if you've fallen off, maybe you've been too bullheaded, maybe you're in the spot where you're willing to change or whatever. That's what this invitation song is about. For anyone who wants to come forward as we stand and sing this song, let us stand.